Am I wrong for refusing to walk my daughter down the aisle? My daughter, 26 female, and I haven't spoken in years. When she was 15, we found out that she wasn't my biological daughter and my wife had cheated on me years ago with a friend. As it turns out, this so-called friend was suddenly interested in playing dad. My wife and I divorced, my daughter learned the truth, and I told her I still loved her no matter what. Of course, she was interested now in getting to know her biological father, and while it hurt, I tried to accept that. She started pulling away from me after that. Even when trying to still do things together as a family, she was no longer interested. The last straw was when she was 20 and living at my house. We were arguing because she had dropped from her college courses, hasn't done anything for 3 months, and was mad because I told her she either needed to go to school or work if she wants to stay here for free. She told me I can't even read it. So mean. She told me I'm not her real dad, so stop pretending like I am, and she'll just go to stay with her real father. Ugh. That broke me, honestly. But I told her if that's how she really feels, then there's really nothing left to say between us. And she did move out to go live with him. I was depressed for a very long time and I drank a lot. My son, 24 male, was my only reason to keep moving forward. For the first couple of years, I reached out to my daughter. She wanted no contact and I learned to accept that and moved on. It helped me find more peace in my life. My son stopped talking to her for a while over this and was angry with her. They still chat sometimes, which doesn't bother me at all. Through him, I learned her biological father died in October 2019. She reached out to me first, saying she knows that we haven't talked in a while, but wants to ask me if I'd be willing to walk her down the aisle. After a pretty long message about how much she hurt me in the past with her actions, I told her no. She didn't want me to be her father anymore, so I learned to no longer view her as my daughter. This turned into a fight between us because according to her, it's not her fault she wanted to know her real dad. And I agreed with her it's not, but what was her fault was how she treated me ever since. In my mind, I know if he hadn't passed, we wouldn't even be speaking right now. It ended with telling her I hope she enjoys her wedding, but I want no part of her life. My son told me she's ranting to my family that I'm ruining her date and she thought parents are supposed to love their kids unconditionally. Oh, what a gaslighting bitch. Fuck her. Oh, I can't be swearing so much. Sorry. My brother seems to think that now I am being an asshole and that this is my chance to be in her life again, but I have no interest in that. Still seems that everyone has a strong opinion on it and that I'm making it difficult for my daughter to have the wedding she wants when it would mean a lot to her. My son is on my side, but the comments are still wearing me down, and just for the sake of my sanity, am I being an asshole?
Storytime. My boyfriend beat up his ex-girlfriend because she tried to kill me. So it was my sophomore year in high school and I had just gotten with this guy who was fresh out of a relationship. And let me tell you a little bit about his ex-girlfriend. So before him and I even started dating, him and his ex-girlfriend were together for like 2 years. And guys, this girl was fucking psychotic. Like, let me give you a quick example. Last year, I had a class with him and her, and the teachers assigned partners for this one project. Well, her boyfriend got paired up with this other girl. And anybody who would even talk to her boyfriend would get jumped by her and 8 of her friends. So his girlfriend starts being buddy-buddy with this girl. And his girlfriend goes, oh, do you want to come to the bathroom to hit my dab pen? So the girl says, yeah, thinking that she's being all nice and shit. So they both go to the bathroom and they're gone for like 25 minutes. So I asked to go to the bathroom because I want to see what's going on. So I walk into the auditorium bathroom and nobody's really around that bathroom. And this bitch is getting beat the fuck up. Like for part 2. Okay, part 2. Okay, so like I said, I walk in and this bitch is getting her shit rocked. Like there were like 5 girls in there beating the shit out of her. All of them just look at me, so I walk out and go back to the classroom. And the one girl went to the hospital and the other girl got suspended. So back to present day. So after school that day, I get a ride with him and his friends to his house. Well, as we're all driving to his house, we realize that his ex-girlfriend's car is right behind us. And it's literally her and all of her friends. And at this point, my boyfriend's really fed up with her shit. Because she keeps following me around school, texting me saying she's gonna kill me, saying he got her pregnant, always says that he's been cheating on me with her. But my boyfriend pulls over the car, and at this point, I think it's a trap. I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna let me get beat the fuck up. Well, he tells me to stay in the car. He gets out and walks over to her driver's door and tells her to get out of the car. So her and all her friends get out, and one of her friends starts punching him. While he's distracted with that, his ex runs over to the car, opens the door, and pulls out a fucking knife. Like for part 3. Okay, part 3. She fucking has a knife up to my neck, screaming at me. And I'm staying quiet as fuck because I do not want to get my throat slit by this bitch. So all I see is my boyfriend rip this bitch out of the car and start stomping her in the fucking ground. And whenever he went and ripped her out of the car, the knife like slashed my leg open, so there's fucking blood everywhere. And we're like at the beginning of his cul-de-sac, so all the fucking neighbors are outside watching him stomp this bitch into the ground. And then one of her friends comes around the other side of the car, grabs me by my hair, rips me out of the car, starts beating the shit out of me. So then one of his friends starts beating up that bitch too. So obviously the cops were called. My boyfriend went to jail. She also went to jail. And after that happened, my parents made me move schools. But after that, word got around that they were dating again. Good luck to the next bitch.
I, 30 male, pissed my wife, 27 female off, and now she wants me to do everything. To begin, when I met my now wife, she had about $9K in credit card debt. She grew up in poverty, got her first credit card, and got into financial trouble with it. She told me about it pretty early on in the serious phase of our relationship, and even told me about her plan to fix it. Showed me her budget and had a time frame. To her credit, she did it. That was 5 years ago. We're now married with twins. She's a stay-at-home mom, but receives about $1,000 per month in VA disability and cleans houses part-time while our kids are in school. The $1,000 goes entirely to our mortgage, plus some of the money that she makes cleaning houses because she likes to put extra on the principal. So she has her own spending money. We do have one credit card, mine, of which she's an authorized user. I do stay vigilant about the card because I guess I never really let myself trust her with money. On to the problem. I noticed earlier this week, after years of good financial decisions and fiscal responsibility on her part, that the credit card seemed higher than normal. My wife hadn't mentioned anything, and I hadn't seen anything expensive coming into the house. So I was shocked to see charges from GameStop, grocery store charges outside of her normal shopping trip, a salon, Walmart, a movie theater, and Amazon. It came out to about $600, and I immediately realized she had a relapse. I've already groveled, and she just says I apparently have 5 years of groveling to do if all I've been waiting for is the other shoe to drop, when she's been nothing but exemplary when it comes to finances in all this time. Help, please.
Story time about how my husband's mistress tried to mace me and kidnap me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Husband and I have been married for 4 months. So yeah, not very long. We dated for 2 years and everything was pretty much okay. At the beginning of the relationship, I had my doubts about him. I earn a lot more money than he does, and he's always resented me for that. He makes comments and jokes about how I'm the one that brings the bacon home. Finally, I told him that he needed to stop doing that, especially in front of our friends and family. But other than that, we've had a really great relationship. I never thought that he was capable of ever cheating on me. We finally got married back in 2017. The wedding was so special and our families were there. Our honeymoon was amazing, and when we got back home, we both decided that we wanted to buy a house together. Or mostly, like, I decided to buy a house and he would give me some money. Obviously, this didn't bother me because I knew it was our forever home, so I didn't mind paying for it and having him help me with the rest. After we settled into our new home, my husband decided that he wanted to get a better paying job. Obviously, this made me really happy because it would give him more confidence if he was earning more money. He decided to switch to financing and he started working on Wall Street. 2 months after getting married, he started earning way more money than I did. This made him so happy. But he quickly started to change. He only bought expensive designer stuff. One thing I did notice was that he never invited me to go to his office. So like the good wife I am, I decided to surprise him at his office with lunch. And when I got there, I was greeted by his assistant. I didn't get worried because I didn't find her very attractive. She looked very plain Jane and homely. But when I finally saw my husband, I asked him why he didn't tell me that he finally got his assistant. He told me that he just forgot and he didn't think it was important. So I let it go. But I noticed that his assistant was trying to be overly nice to me. And she was also asking me a lot of questions about my husband. But like I said, I didn't feel insecure at all just because I didn't think she was very attractive. At the end of the year, my husband and I are invited to the Christmas party. Of course, his assistant is there, and she proceeds to get drunk and start telling me things like how I was so lucky to be married to my husband and how I should be more grateful to him. Obviously, I took offense. I went straight to my husband and told him what his assistant said to me. That's when my husband laughed it off and said that I was reading into it. 2 seconds later, he's in his office with her yelling at her. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my husband's mistress tried to mace me and kidnap me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. That's when I catch my husband yelling at his assistant. All I could make out was that he was telling her to keep her mouth shut when she was around me. Obviously, these were all red flags. I decided not to say anything for the rest of the night, but his assistant kept drinking the entire night. That's when my husband pulled her aside and told her to go home. She started crying and she tried to hold his hand, and that's when I knew it. They were having an affair. Mind you, I didn't suspect anything. I just thought she wasn't very pretty. She was very plain Jane. I didn't think that my husband would ever find her attractive. After she left the party, I decided to pull my husband aside and ask him what was going on. I asked him if he was having an affair with her, and he told me the truth. He said yes. Obviously, this was really heartbreaking. We hadn't been married long. That's when he told me that he wanted independence from me because I was the one that paid for everything, and that he wanted to feel like a man, and that because I earned more money and paid for everything, he felt less of a man. Wow, great excuse. He promised to break things off because he had no feelings for her, and that he actually felt bad for using her because she was falling in love with him. I told him that he needed to fire her right away. The following day, he fired her, but she shows up at our doorstep. But of course, my husband wasn't home. As soon as I open the door and see that it's her, she pulls out pepper spray and sprays me in the face. I fall to the floor and she grabs me by my ankles and drags me to her car. She was like scary strong. She opened up her trunk door and actually tried to pull me inside, but she couldn't lift me. Luckily, one of my neighbors was there and started yelling at her to leave me alone. That's when she got in her car and drove off. The police pulled her over 2 miles away. In her car, she had a shovel and an axe. She told the cops that she was planning on unaliving me so that she could stay with my stupid husband. She went to jail and my husband and I are still together. Should I get a divorce?
Story time on how I cheated on my husband with his son. Okay, so boom, let's get right into it. So I met my husband at my job where we quickly fell in love, got married, and the rest is history. My husband had a child from a previous relationship who was 17 years old. By the way, I'm 27 and my husband is 34. My husband was really great at his job, but he started treating me really bad. He was always working and had me stay home because he wanted to be the provider. He also bought food for me when I was hungry since I don't cook, but sometimes it would just be food that I didn't want. Before he leaves, he kisses me and makes breakfast for the house as if that's going to make anything better, and only spends time with me on his one day off. It's ridiculous. Well, I started spending a lot more time with my stepson and we became really close. I started feeling something real between us, and my husband was being horrible. So I made my move. Like for part 2 on how I cheated on my husband with his son. Okay, so boom, like I said, my husband was treating me horribly, so I made my move. I started feeling something real between me and my stepson. We watched movies together, we went grocery shopping together, and plain just enjoyed each other's company. I felt something real between us, and I know he did too. One day, once again, while my husband was at work, my stepson and I started watching a Netflix movie. I thought it was the perfect time to just go for it. He was laughing at one of the scenes, and I just took his face and I kissed him. He jumped up and pushed me and said, "Whoa, why the did you go and just do that?" Then I said, "I thought." He just ran to his room and called his dad. My heart sank. My husband left me and took his son and divorced me too. Now I'm currently dating and have no luck, and he's remarried with a beautiful family. I can't find a guy half what my ex-husband was. Don't be like me.
Story time about how my boyfriend is bullying me into losing weight. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 months. He's a personal trainer, so he's really into fitness. When we started dating, I wasn't super fit, but I definitely was toned. Unfortunately, I got the Rona, so I got fired from my job because I couldn't work for 2 weeks. I was super sick and I really became depressed. I basically sat on my couch for those 2 weeks and ate a lot. Before I knew it, I had gained 7 pounds. When I finished my quarantine, I finally was able to see my boyfriend. And when he first came into my house to see me, he looked shocked. He looked me up and down and said, "Did you gain weight?" I said, "Yeah, I probably gained like 7 or 10 pounds. And then he asked me how I could let myself go like that. I told him I was totally by myself, cooped up in my apartment, and I had nothing else to do but eat. And that's when he said, and I quote, "Well, we need to get you back into the gym to get you in shape again, because I don't want a fat girlfriend." I laughed because I thought for sure he's joking, but then he said, "Stop laughing, it's not a joke." My stomach sank and I felt like I was gonna poop my pants. I started to cry and he told me that I shouldn't be a baby, that he's allowed to be honest with me about stuff like this because it has to do with him being attracted to me. So in other words, he wasn't attracted to me anymore. That's when he went into my room, picked out a pair of leggings and a sweatshirt, told me to get dressed, and took me straight to the gym. He made me exercise for an hour and a half. Instead of getting upset about it, I decided to just take it in stride and go with it. I thought maybe I can get in the best shape of my life now that I have a trainer boyfriend. As we were working out, he kept commenting on my thighs. He said that they needed to have a gap and that instead of being muscular, I was super soft. Again, I started to cry. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my boyfriend is bullying me into losing weight. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. After he told me that I was soft at the gym, I started to cry again. I told him that I needed to be more sensitive towards my feelings and that I didn't want to be in a relationship if he was going to be like this toward me. That's when he said that he didn't want to be in a relationship with me because I had gained weight and that's not what he had signed up for. That's when he told me I needed to look around and see all the fit women in the gym and that he could have any of those girls. I was in utter shock. I just couldn't believe that he was talking to me like that and I had never seen that side of him before. The more I cried, the angrier he got, but finally he said, "Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just do 20 minutes on the Stairmaster." That's when I told him I didn't want to work out anymore. Mind you, he had already had me at the gym for an hour and a half. That's when he said, "Fine, I'll take you home, but I'm coming back to the gym." The whole way home, he stayed quiet and gave me the cold shoulder while I cried. He pulled up to my house and I got out of the car and he literally sped away as fast as he could. He proceeded to give me the cold shoulder for the next 2 days. I finally broke and texted him telling him we needed to speak. That's when he said we could talk at the gym. I agreed and he went to pick me up. But the first thing he wanted to do at the gym was put me on a scale and weigh me. I told him absolutely not. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my boyfriend is bullying me into losing weight. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. He was trying to force me to get on the scale so that he could weigh me because he wanted to see how much weight I could lose in 1 week. I kept saying no, but then he said fine. Then he handed me a piece of paper and said, "Here's the diet I want you to follow for the next 4 weeks." I grabbed the piece of paper and just put it in my purse. Then he has the audacity to get mad at me for not even looking at the diet. He said that I was disrespectful and that I didn't even look at the diet and that it took him hours to write all of that out. And then he said the thing that crushed my heart. He would be embarrassed to take me around his friends and family with the way that I looked. As soon as he said that, I ran out of the gym and walked home. Of course, he followed me and told me to get in the car, but I refused. I finally got to my house and he called me. I told him I needed some time away from him and that his behavior was extremely toxic, and that if I didn't have a problem with my weight, neither should he. That's when he said that he was accustomed to only being with girls that were super fit and even had abs. He told me that at first he wasn't convinced if he should date me, but I had a really pretty face, and that he was willing to overlook the fact that I wasn't super fit. He's a total narcissist, but I'm still in love with him. I tried to break up with him, but he said no, and he's still insisting that we just go to the gym together at least. I don't even know how to respond to him. What should I say?
My 35 male girlfriend, 21 female, is uncomfortable with my wife's ashes. Going to try to keep this as short as possible. Please tell me if I'm in the wrong here. Married my high school sweetheart at age 25. She died in a car accident 5 years ago. We loved to travel, and so I had her ashes made into a diamond to take her with me on my adventures. Her ashes, along with both of our wedding rings, are on a chain I carry in my pocket on our adventures. Helps me feel close to her. I always love and miss her, but I know she would want me to be happy and find love. I've been dating a new girl for over a year. I dated a bit a couple years after her wife's death, but never found love until new girl, M. M is great and has been so supportive and understanding of my late wife. She knows about the chain and never said it bothered her, though she never knew the stone was my wife's ashes. I used to keep the chain on my bedpost, but thought it would be disrespectful to M, so it's now safe in a drawer. I still take it with me on travels. M and I have talked about moving in together when her lease ends in 2 months. I am ecstatic for this. I want to spend my life with her. Yesterday, I was packing for a solo weekend trip to the East Coast as she was over. When I picked the chain, M asked me what the other ring was, not X's ring or my wedding rings. I explained that I had my ex's ashes pressed into a stone, and she flipped. Couldn't believe I had, quote, lied to her for a year and said what I had done was creepy and weird. Gave me an ultimatum: get rid of the stone. I can keep our rings on the chain, just not the ashes, or she will not move in with me. I asked if I could put the stone away in a drawer, but she said no, it had to go. She refuses to spend another night with my wife in the house and said it's her or me. Please help, Reddit. I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose this girl, but I also don't want to give up respect for the woman I once loved. My ex was not close to her parents, so I cannot give it to them. I can't just throw it away. I'm at a loss. Canceled my weekend trip. I just wanted to make things work with M. Edit. I keep thinking to myself that making this stone was totally crazy. M told me that no girl would ever be comfortable with it, and that if I keep the stone, I will, quote, be living a lonely, miserable life. Women or men, would this be a deal breaker to you? Am I insane? Am I the asshole for canceling my significant other's birthday plans after finding out I was not invited? Let me start the post off by saying my 21 female, significant other, 22 male, love language is gift giving. He loved to shop for people. He loves to give gifts, especially extravagant ones. For example, over the 3 years we've been together, he's given me a car, 3 dogs, a new phone, and many more smaller items. I, on the other hand, struggle with gift giving, especially for him. He is the person, if he wants it, he will buy it for himself. 2 different times I had purchased him a gift before the holiday rolled around. He had went and purchased the exact same thing for himself. So finding something he both likes and doesn't already have is a struggle. This year I decided I would go above and beyond. I set aside a couple $1,000s, a lot for me, not so much for him, to make sure I can get him extravagant gifts. This year he discussed with me he wanted to go to Puerto Rico. Immediately I found a 4-bedroom house, more than enough room for his friends, him and I. I also booked a yacht for us to spend the day on. That ended up being more than I set aside for, but I booked the yacht anyways since he always goes above and beyond for me, and I wanted him to have a great birthday. Well, tonight I asked him if I should purchase his gifts here and travel with them, or if I should go shopping in Puerto Rico. He tells me I was not coming. Note, earlier this week he discussed us going to Puerto Rico. Also discussed how his friend, no named, would be traveling with us on this trip. So he immediately sensed my confusion. He quickly started backtracking and told me I would be coming just at the end of the week, missing his birthday. My feelings were hurt at first. To think the person I wanted to spend my birthdays with doesn't want to spend theirs with me hit a little different. My feelings soon changed as I realized this also meant I would miss out on the yacht I went over budget on. Immediately, I went to cancel the yacht, trying to get some form of payment back since it had already been 24 hours since booking. The yacht was a surprise, so it was never mentioned. But after canceling it and only getting partial refund, I told him what I had planned. I also told him since I would have to wait 5 days after his birthday to even see him, his gifts would not be as extravagant, and I would not have things like a cake, decorations, or anything set up for him. He told me I was the asshole. The yacht was for him and not me. So regardless if I attended, I should have left the reservation in place. He tells me his gifts should not change, since he will see me after his birthday. I disagree. I can't imagine spending thousands of dollars on gifts for someone just to give it to them a week after their birthday. I also cannot imagine spending over $1,000 on a yacht I will never see. Am I the asshole for canceling my plans for significant other's birthday after finding out I am not invited?
My fiancé cheated on me, at least that is what I think. but she and her family think it is not a big deal because she stopped before anything happened. My 32 fiancé 32 went on a road trip with her friends. I know all the friends she went with, and I'm pretty good friends with some of them. While on this road trip, she called me just to let me know everything was fine, and that she and her friends would go to a club. The next day in the morning, my fiancé's friend Stephanie called me and told me she saw my fiancé go upstairs with a guy. According to her, she had been to this club before and there is a hookup spot upstairs. This is what she told me. That after 5 to 10 minutes, my fiancé came down. And when she asked her what was going on, my fiancé said nothing. So she got suspicious and went upstairs and saw the guy absolutely wasted. After this call, I called my fiancé to ask her about this. She told me she was drunk and messed up, but nothing happened and she got out of the situation as soon as she realized what was happening. To me, it categorizes as cheating. And on that phone call, I told her I was breaking up with her. I didn't really listen to her after this and hung up. The same day but later, her family came over because my fiancé called them and explained her side of the story to them. They acknowledged that what she did was messed up. But since she stopped, this is salvageable and I should not throw away 10 years like that. The only reason I'm thinking about it is that they were genuinely comforting, aware, and not at all intimidating. Stephanie called me at night again and told me that my fiancé is extremely mad at her and trying to get her kicked out of the group for being a snitch. I think Steph did me a solid here and I'm grateful to her. Even though she's her friend first, she told me. Right now, I don't know if I should dump her or not. The point where she took everything seems like cheating to me. The act itself is just an artifact, and the things leading up to it are just as important. I know for a fact that I cannot trust her. Even if there is some trust left, it is not enough to be engaged to her, let alone getting married to her in January of next year. She messaged me saying that I'm making it a bigger deal than it is, and that I should be grateful that she's this aware even when drunk to not cheat on me. But getting drunk is a freaking choice, and I will not really take it as an excuse. She is on her way back, and I don't know if I should just end it or try to work it out. Any advice? My 31 female husband 32 male cheated on me with his ex and only gave me a half-truth. In mid-February, my 31 female husband 32 male of 8 years went away on a camping trip with his friends, one of which was his ex-girlfriend from college. A few days after, he came clean that he made out with his ex while he was there, but he swore it didn't mean anything. They were just both drunk. He hasn't contacted her since and he only loves me. Before we had a chance to sort through that, my mother had a bit of an accident, and not long after, she passed away. Anyways, about 7 months after my mom's death, so October, he actually ran to his ex while I was grocery shopping and asked me if we could talk maybe over coffee. I wanted to decline, but she was pretty insistent. She was basically in tears, apologized for sleeping with him, and explained that it didn't mean anything. That she had no idea we were still together because they hadn't kept in contact until that trip, and said feels even worse it happened so close to my mother's passing. So I then find out he lied on 2 fronts, so I confront him again. He tells me that he was going to tell me about sleeping with her, but I was so upset, and he didn't want to lose me, so he thought it was best to wait. Then after what happened to my mom, he couldn't bring himself to tell me at all. He then explained he only talked to her once over the phone because she recently broke up with her fiancé, and all her friends were on her fiancé's side. But he immediately told her that his wife's mom just died, and he couldn't help, and then blocked her. He even showed me on his phone that her number was blocked. And he didn't tell me because I wasn't doing well following my mom's death. For the last month, I have been pretty cold to him when our son, 7-year-old, isn't around, because I couldn't really face him. And when using our laptop, I found in the search history how to win custody for fathers. And I had a panic attack. I didn't understand what to do. I considered taking our son and staying at my dad and saying nothing, but I just couldn't. Last night, he came home extremely drunk, and he usually doesn't drink, trying to sneak in without waking me. But when I caught him, I figured it may be best to question him now because he probably couldn't lie. He just got a few drinks with work friends after, which I don't doubt. He ended up breaking down and saying that he does love me. But for a bit he just felt bored, and while drunk he made a bad choice. And immediately after he regretted it because he knew he only wanted me forever.
Until you're nowhere near. How lonely? Must it really be? 'Cause you're the only person you can see. Oh no, while you're on your face, pulling no pressure. But you're the only one that's been in the front row. It's faking it, the only thing you know.
Am I wrong for breaking my promise to my husband and letting others meet our newborn before him? I, 25 female, moved away from my hometown to my husband's hometown, male 32, after we got married. The main reason is because he suffers from a medical chronic condition and needs to be near his family. I was pregnant with our first baby and was nearing my due date when my husband had to travel out of town for 2 weeks. Because of this, he couldn't be with me in the delivery room, which wasn't expected. I wanted to ask my mom to come with me, but he assured me that his family is there to help and I shouldn't be worried. He then made me promise that I don't let anyone see our son for the first time in person before him, besides his stepmom who was supposed to be there for me, and I agreed. His stepmom was with me when I went into labor, but she stayed away since she is the type that doesn't get too involved and keeps her distance. She's also the I don't do diapers type, meaning she doesn't offer help with the baby and I shouldn't be expecting it. She dropped me and my son off at home and asked that I only call if there's an emergency. I felt helpless. I asked my neighbor for a few favors but needed real help with the baby, so I called my mom and asked if she could come help me with the baby. She drove 4 hours to come stay with me. She helped out tremendously and I'm so grateful for that. My husband stayed away for a few more days then came home. Once he saw my mom, he got so upset, repeatedly saying I broke the promise that I made to him by not letting others meet our son before him. I tried to explain that I needed the help and he brought up his stepmom, but I replied that she dropped me off and left. That's it. He said it wasn't about mom since it could have been anybody else, but it was about me disrespecting his wishes and breaking the promise I made. He reminded me that he's also the parent and he gets a say too. At this point I said he was overreacting, but he replied that I forever tainted the memory of his son's birth and broke his trust and proved to him that my word is worth shit now. Mom tried to give us space, but I said she did nothing wrong. She came to help after his stepmom left, so I can't be blamed for asking for help. He told me to stop giving him excuses and admit I wronged him with what I did, and then started avoiding me and just kept focusing his attention on our son. He keeps acting cold towards me, calling me a selfish promise breaker and expecting me to make it up to him. He wanted an apology, but I haven't given him that yet. So, am I wrong here?
I'm a stay-at-home mom and my husband works full-time. We have 3 kids and one of them is 2 years old. My husband helps a lot with the kids. He's a committed dad but is absolutely against babysitters due to an awful incident with a babysitter that was the reason his younger male cousin James got disabled years ago. I don't go out much since I have to take the kids with me and not every place is suitable for kids. We received an invitation from our brothers, who's been my husband's best friend since college, wedding, which we later discovered was child-free. My brother lives states away, so the entire trip will take 4 days, as well as my brother's in-laws' weekend dinner party. I told my husband that I want to go since it's been a while since I went to a wedding, and this one is special, and suggested that we get a trusted friend as a babysitter. He asked if I was serious to consider leaving our 2-year-old with a babysitter, and suggested that I do what I normally do and stay home with the kids while he goes to the wedding. I refused and said I have as much right to attend as him since we were both invited. He said it wasn't his fault that my brother wants a child-free wedding, and I should do this for the kids and sacrifice for their sake. I still refused and said it was unfair, and since he's a parent too, then he should stay also for the kids. He looked at me and said, "That's my best friend's wedding you're asking me to skip for Christ's sake. Are you kidding me?" Then said I was being petty for suggesting this and I was basically choosing to go to a party over keeping our kids safe. He asked me to consider this a business trip, what I would do. Go with him and leave the kids? I said I understand his paranoia of babysitters, but really, all my friends have sitters and at times they're really needed. He said I ought to know better than what my friends tell me and this wasn't even up for discussion. When I kept arguing, he called me selfish and said he won't let me ruin this relationship with his friend because I was being spiteful for not being able to attend and that my brother will understand my situation. He keeps asking who's more important, a wedding party or my kids, and said I was being unreasonable for making my attendance a hill to die on. Am I the asshole for refusing to stay home with the kids while my husband attends my brother's wedding?
Am I the asshole for not getting my friend a $200 gift and making her feel unloved? My 28 male friend, 27 female, is usually a very kind person. But we recently got into a stupid argument about a gift. My friend is obsessed with the 5 love languages and she always asks people what their love language is and she does her best to show love by using your love language. She says that her love language is receiving gifts, so everyone should put a lot of thought into her gifts. I thought that I did. She likes this one brand of artisan coffee from a local shop, so I bought her a big bag of that coffee from the store and a nice mug. It cost about $45 in total. We did our exchange 1 week ago and she seemed so disappointed. She likes this one brand of artisan coffee from a local coffee shop, so I thought a big bag of coffee from that store and a nice mug would be nice. It costed $45 in total. We did our gift exchange 1 week ago and she seemed so disappointed when she opened her gift. I asked her what was wrong and she asked how much I spent on the gift. I told her and she said she was expecting a nicer gift, preferably about $200. She said that my cheap gift meant that she felt unloved because receiving gifts is her love language. That pissed me off. I called her selfish and materialistic and took the gifts from her. I left without opening mine and now we haven't spoken in days. Am I the asshole for being an ungrateful, spoiled brat for the Christmas gift my husband got me? I, female 35, want to start by saying that every holiday, me and my husband, male 33, set separate budgets for gifts. He uses his own money to buy gifts, and I do the same, and we both work decent jobs. We've been married for almost a year and together for 3, and this is our first Christmas as a married couple. He made a list of every person he wanted to buy a gift for, and I stumbled upon the list by accident and out of curiosity decided to take a look. I found that his friends and coworkers were on top of the list with gifts that cost over $5,000 in total. What made me upset was that when I saw my name, I saw that he bought me a $20 something kitchen spoon set. I was too shocked to ignore this, and I had a confrontation with him about it. He argued that A, it's his money and he's the one paying, so I should not control that. And B, his coworkers and friends are important to him and he's known them for ages. And then C, he said a gift should be appreciated no matter what it costed. I argued that he was disrespecting me and dismissing my feelings with the gift he chose to get me, not to mention that I spent a lot of money on his gifts. And they were some of his favorite shoe and gaming brands. He got upset and said I was being ungrateful and a spoiled brat and urged me to get rid of this attitude and accept what I'm getting. Am I the asshole?
I'm literally so mad right now. Like, my dad has really done it today. He has reached a new level. So basically, my parents are divorced. And because they're divorced, every weekend I go to a different parent's house. So, like, one weekend I'll be at my dad's house, next weekend I'll be at my mom's house. And this weekend, I'm at my mom's house. And when I'm at my mom's house, it is literally just for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The weekend, I'm at her house, okay? So that is 3 days, 1, 2, 3, that my dad has to take care of the dog. 3 days, that is it. 3 days every 2 weeks, my dad needs to stay home and take care of the dog. Well, he doesn't like to do that. Every time I'm at my mom's house, which is 45 minutes away from my dad's house, he will call me Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, telling me to come home, take care of the dog. So I did that for a few months. I would drive 45 minutes to my dad's house, take care of the dog, and then come back to my mom's. That went on for like 3 months, and eventually my mom was like tired of it. She was like, no. She called my dad, and she was like, nope, our daughter is not driving 45 minutes to take care of the dog. Not gonna happen. So then my dad stopped asking me to do it. Cool, bada bing, bada boom. I finally get to like sleep in and stay at my mom's house on the weekend. Well, this morning, I slept until 2 p.m. I was really tired, and I wake up to like 30 missed calls from my dad. I'm like, great, I already know what this is. I call him back, and the first thing he said is, are you ever gonna come home, Kayla? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be home at 11 o'clock. I'll be home on curfew because it's my mom's weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be home on curfew. And he's like, yeah, well, your dog, he needs somebody to take him on play with my dog. 45 minutes because he... God.
Would I be the asshole for not telling my siblings about their true paternity and taking everything in my father's will? I am 38 and have been in North Carolina with my dad and 2 younger siblings for many years. My dad always treated me like crap because he was convinced that my mom cheated on him, because she did, a lot, and trapped him into a shitty marriage and that I was not biologically his. For my 13th birthday, my dad bought me a paternity test, and even though the test results came back that I am indeed his, he accused me or my mother of sleeping with the test guy. I have also done an ancestry DNA test and also matched with all his relatives, so I'm pretty sure that unfortunately he is my biological father. I've known for a long time that my younger sister was not my dad's. When I did my ancestry DNA test, my sister wanted to get one too. My mom freaked out and admitted her indiscretion and begged me to convince my sister that it was a waste of money and that she could just have a copy of my result. I did it because I thought I was protecting her and she was going through a rough time at the time. I recently got a notification about an ancestry DNA match. I looked it up and it looks like my brother's ex-wife got one of the kids for both of my brother's kids. And lo and behold, my brother's kids only seem to share relatives from my mom's side. FYI, my profile uses a screen name so she would not have recognized who I was. My brother and sister have been really shitty to me for years. Comments about how I owed their dad for him putting a roof over my head as a child and how dare I accept items from their grandmother's estate, etc. I put up with it for years because they are younger and honestly not that bright. I thought that they would come around eventually, but they didn't. My dad made sure in a drunken fight with my mother to give me a copy of his...
Really need to let you know regrets been my friend too long, too long. So fine on, commas a beach so blue, where the waves come back to you, always back to you. Can feel sand between my toes, sipping round Jack Sparrow. Let me try to explain, oh, let me try to explain, oh. I came here to drink it all away, so drink it all away. Swear I'm not lying. Then I saw you sitting over there. It's been a couple years. Hey, what's up with you tonight? Perdí mi número, puedo tener lo tuyo, Savannah. Cause you see, it should have been you, should have been me, it should have been us for life.